A couple of days ago, I interviewed a really interesting person. He was the Republican nominee for the US Senate in 2020, and he was endorsed by Donald Trump. A few days ago, he marched into the Secretary of State's office for the state of New Hampshire and laid out his case for why Donald Trump should be excluded from the ballot because he led an insurrection. I wanted to get my Blue Amp channel partner, Cliff Schecter's reaction because Corky Messner said some absolutely fascinating things. Here's the first one. Why did he do this? What explains this big switch?
I am an advocate for the Constitution. That's what I'm doing here. I'm a West Point graduate. I served in the Army. I was an officer. I took an oath to defend the Constitution. About a month ago, this law review article came out that was written by distinguished conservative constitutional scholars that essentially concludes that Donald Trump is disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Their analysis is very solid. I thought, wait a minute, somebody needs to step up and stand for the Constitution. And that's what I'm doing. All
right, Cliff, you saw that. What do you think? What's your reaction to him making this major flip?
You know, he says it's because of the Constitution. He was in the military. He took an oath. He took that oath before the 2020 election when he was willing to accept Donald Trump's endorsement with all we knew about Donald Trump. Look, there have been some people that have started off with Trump and then they have actually stepped away. I've become friendly with Joe Walsh, who is considered a fire-breathing right-wing congressman. He supported him in 2016. And he's come out now and fully went against him. He lost his radio show. He realized at some point he was becoming part of the problem. He was becoming part of the clown show, and that what Trump was doing was an attack on the very fabric of our society. So maybe that's what we have going here. Maybe we have to put our cynicism aside and say, oh my God, he's doing it for the right reasons. And that's a good thing.
Well, let's take a look at this next clip where he seems to lay out in just a few sentences the struggle that's going on inside the Republican Party.
Republicans got to be saying, let's see what the Supreme Court says about this. This is a legitimate, serious constitutional issue. I have received my share of incoming. At the same time, my biggest surprise was the volume of support I'd received. And that I did not expect. By the tone of some of the emails, they're conservatives who believe in the Constitution. The negative stuff is crazy. It's just crazy, and it's nasty, and it's threatening. Quite frankly, a lot of these folks don't want to open their minds and listen to logic or reason. It amazes me and saddens me that the Republican Party doesn't have the courage to say, wait a minute, this is not who we are.
All right. So, Cliff, what was your reaction to that?
The conflict is there, right? And you see it in the presidential primaries. Asa Hutchinson and Chris Christie, you don't seem to have much of a chance, who have fully condemned Trump and said they wouldn't, have not said they would vote for him. I don't know if they said they wouldn't, but they wouldn't raise their hands at that debate. Then you've got this little chump, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's like, I'll lick Trump's boots if I need to. And then you get the folks who are in between. And that's the thing, is you can't really be in between. You can't be Mike Pence. What he did was wrong. Yes, it was a terrible act, but would you vote for him? Sure, I'd vote for him. I think you said to me offline at some point, partisanship is a hell of a drug. And a lot of these folks need to get past that. And I think that's what's gripping the Republican Party. There's middle ground on Trump, no matter how hard they try to find it.
That's a perfect setup for this third clip. This was the curveball in the interview, the fact that Corky Messner, while he's leading the charge to try and get Trump off the ballot, says that he would actually vote for him if he were the Republican nominee.
I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative, and I'll vote for the Republican nominee. And if it turns out to be Trump, I would vote for Trump. It's loyalty to the party. I'm not a Trump hater. I think what he's done has been very bad. I think Trump is a very dishonest person. I do think he's a grifter.
If Donald Trump were convicted in the January 6th case or the Georgia case for election interference, and yet he were still the Republican nominee, would you still vote for him then?
I think if it plays out that, I would lead the charge that we cannot support a convicted felon to be president of the United States. I would lead the charge that this is beyond the pale and we need to get away from this.
All right. So, I mean, Cliff, what's your reaction to this?
Partisanship is a hell of a drug. I mean, I've never understood this. I've worked for Democrats all the way up to having written ads for Biden. I can't fathom that somebody in my party was a multiple indicted 91 criminal count. He tried to overthrow our government. He's committed personal acts against people. How the hell do you sit there and say he shouldn't be viable as a candidate? Oh, but if he's our nominee, I'll vote for him. I mean, the mental gymnastics, but that's, I guess, it's the psychology of politics. I've got no other explanation.
I hope people will check out the entire episode because it really is a dive into the exact struggle that's going on in America and within the Republican Party to try and see if they can rid themselves of this cancer. And you see the struggle inside Corky Messner. So check out the full episode that's coming tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe to Blue Amp.